You may desire marriage deeply, yet find yourself guarding your own heart with unusual care. This is not weakness. It is wisdom born from experience. You have known feelings before that seemed right, connections that appeared destined, only to discover later they were leading you away from your true self and, more importantly, away from Allah. So when someone suggests that perhaps this woman was placed in your path by divine will, you do not immediately feel excitement rushing through you. Instead, you feel something more valuable: caution. This is the carefulness of someone who has learned that not every attachment claiming to be guidance truly is. And this hesitation, this thoughtful pause, may be one of the greatest gifts your life experience has given you. Here is an uncomfortable truth that many people spend their entire lives avoiding. Not everything that feels profound is actually divine in origin. Some connections bring noise into your life where there should be peace. Some bring pressure where there should be ease. Some connections, slowly and almost imperceptibly, lead you to compromise principles you once swore you would never abandon. But then, very rarely, someone enters your life, and instead of creating chaos, something inside you settles. This is not obsession disguised as love. This is not fantasy masking itself as faith. This is direction, clear, purposeful direction. That difference matters more than people realize, and it is not random. Because when Allah is truly placing someone in your life for your ultimate good, your heart does not necessarily get louder, it gets clearer. Let us stay with this thought and explore it deeply. No. 1. When Islam guides you to what to observe, not what to feel, pause here. Do not rush past this section, because this is precisely where most people, regardless of age or experience, derail their entire lives and later call it destiny. If a woman is genuinely good for your deen and your dunya, Islam does not require you to feel a particular emotion about her. Instead, it asks you to observe something concrete, something measurable. That distinction alone should bring you tremendous peace, because feelings can be thunderously loud and still be completely wrong. Chemistry can feel absolutely real and still be deeply toxic. A spark between two people can simply be your old wounds recognizing a familiar pattern, calling you back to what hurt you before. So Islam provides you with a safer, more reliable filter. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not instruct you to chase excitement or pursue butterflies in your stomach. He pointed you toward two fundamental qualities: Deen and character. Not as a beautiful quote to share on social media, but as genuine protection for your heart and your hereafter. This means, observe what she truly respects when it costs her something. Notice how she speaks about halal and haram when there is no audience applauding her piety. Pay attention to whether she is genuinely comfortable with Islamic boundaries, or whether she constantly attempts to push you into gray zones while calling such behavior normal or modern. And listen to this carefully, especially at our stage of life when we should know better. None of this assessment requires private closeness. None of it demands secrecy. None of it needs you to bend the rules of proper conduct to get to know her better. If the only way a connection manages to stay alive is through hiding, through bending Islamic guidelines, through silencing your conscience with excuses, that is not a sign of something blessed. That is a warning. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us, leave what makes you doubt for what does not make you doubt. This is not merely good advice. This is a lifesaver for your akhirah. What is genuinely good for your hereafter will never require you to disobey Allah in order to obtain it or maintain it. It moves naturally toward clarity, and that clarity protects your Deen long before it protects your feelings. So stop asking yourself, do I feel strongly about her? Start asking, does this situation bring me closer to what Allah loves, or closer to what I will eventually regret? No. 2. When you feel more dignified, not more desperate. Be completely honest with yourself for a moment. If a connection is making you anxious, if you find yourself constantly monitoring your words, overthinking small interactions, replaying brief moments repeatedly in your mind, that is not love developing. That is your dignity quietly slipping away. Islam never instructed you to lose your sense of self in order to prove your sincerity or seriousness. At our age, we should recognize this pattern immediately. One of the clearest distinctions between something healthy and something harmful is this simple test. Do you feel steadier in yourself, or do you feel smaller? Do you feel more whole or more fragmented? Desperation does not always appear dramatic. Sometimes it looks remarkably ordinary. Tolerating behaviors you know are not right. Laughing off things that genuinely bother your conscience. Remaining silent because you fear losing access to someone's attention or affection. You tell yourself you are simply being patient, practicing sabr. But deep in your heart, you know the truth. You are negotiating away your self-respect, piece by small piece. What comes from Allah does not do this to you. It does not make you chase after reassurance. It does not make you feel disposable or replaceable. It does not force you to compete, impress, or diminish yourself just to remain relevant in someone's life. Islam gives every believer something profoundly powerful. ʿizzah, dignity, honor, self-respect. Anything that consistently pulls you away from that dignity, regardless of how powerful the emotional pull feels, is not elevating you toward your purpose. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us clearly that a believer is not humiliated, not emotionally, not spiritually, not in any dimension of life. So if a situation is teaching you to accept crumbs, confusion, or constant pressure, that is not a sign you need more patience. That is a sign you need more clarity and perhaps more courage. Because when something is genuinely good for you, you do not lose your sense of personal worth trying to maintain it. You stand straighter. You speak with more integrity. You find it easier to walk away if you must. And that is usually the precise moment when people realize something uncomfortable but true. The right connection does not make you feel fortunate to be tolerated. It makes you feel safe enough to be authentically yourself. No. 3. When she respects boundaries, without you needing to defend them. Here is something people rarely admit aloud, especially in our modern age. If you constantly find yourself explaining your boundaries, they are already being tested and violated. Because genuine respect does not argue with limits. It recognizes and honors them naturally. You should not have to repeatedly justify why you want your interactions to remain clean, why you desire clarity rather than ambiguity, why you refuse to live in emotional gray zones that compromise your faith. Islam never placed believers in a position where they must beg for the right to obey Allah. When someone is truly good for you, you do not feel pushed beyond your comfort. You do not feel guilted into compromising. You do not hear manipulative phrases like, "You're being excessively strict," or "Everyone does this nowadays," or "If you really trusted me, you would not make this into such a significant issue." That kind of pressure is not modern. It is ancient. And it has always been spiritually dangerous, because the fastest way to cross a line is to make it seem unreasonable to stand firm at it. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, did not merely teach us about halal and haram. He taught us haya, modesty, restraint, and respect. Not loud, not controlling, just beautifully firm. So pay very close attention to this. Does she honor your limits without requiring constant reminders? Does she actually feel safer when matters are clear rather than blurred? Is she comfortable moving important conversations into the open instead of keeping them emotionally hidden? Because what Allah sends into your life does not survive on secrecy. It does not thrive in ambiguity. It does not grow by pulling you into situations you will later need to sincerely repent from. It grows in light, in openness, in proper conduct. This is where many people, even at our age, get things completely wrong. They believe boundaries kill genuine connection. But Islam teaches precisely the opposite. Boundaries protect what is real and expose what was only temporary temptation. So if someone respects your limits, without resentment, without pressure, without playing emotional games, that is not coldness or lack of interest. That is character. And true character, when it exists, always reveals itself before commitment, not after damage has been done. Number 4, when choosing Deen costs you socially, yet you feel no regret. Let us be honest about something people rarely speak openly about, especially in today's environment. In many social circles, Deen is respected in theory, but carefully avoided in practice. People praise modesty as long as it does not limit their options. They admire haya as long as it does not slow down their plans. They claim they want Islamic values in a marriage, but become uncomfortable when those values actually require real sacrifice. So when someone chooses Deen seriously, not just as words, but as lived reality, it often does not make them more desirable in society's eyes. It makes them inconvenient. Suddenly, their standards are labeled unrealistic. Their clarity is called rigidity. Their desire to build a home on firm Islamic foundation is treated as a risk rather than a strength. This is the actual environment we are living in, and we must acknowledge it honestly. Here is the sign of something genuine. When you choose Deen in yourself, in your future, in the kind of family structure you want to establish, and it quietly costs you social approval, easier options, or comfort, yet you feel no regret. That is not stubbornness. That is conviction forged through life experience. Because if faith were only valuable when it was socially popular, it would not truly be faith at all. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, never promised that holding firmly to Deen would make you universally admired. In fact, he warned that it would sometimes feel heavy, particularly when the surrounding world pulls in another direction. So when you reach a point in life where you would genuinely rather wait than compromise, rather be misunderstood than hollow, rather build slowly with integrity than sell your values for quick acceptance, that is not being backward or outdated. That is genuine maturity. And here is the profound irony. A society that constantly claims to want stable homes and strong families often actively discourages the very qualities that build them. Number 5, when even if it does not work out, you remain grateful you chose Deen. This is a sign almost no one discusses, because everyone desires a clean story, a perfect, happy ending, a clear victory they can point to. But real life, as you well know by now, does not always provide that neat conclusion. Sometimes you do everything correctly. You stay carefully within Islamic limits. You choose values over convenience at every turn. You walk with sincere intention to please Allah in every step. And still, it does not work out. No betrayal, no drama, no clear villain in the story. Just a door that quietly closes. Here's where you discover whether something was truly from Allah. Not by the outcome, but by what it leaves behind in you. If after the situation ends, your iman is still standing firm, your self-respect still intact, your conscience still clean, that matters more than people realize. You do not feel used. You do not feel ashamed. You do not feel like you lost your essential self trying desperately to hold on to something. You can look back with peace and say, "At least I did not disobey Allah for this." And that single sentence carries more genuine peace than most people will ever understand. Because not every person placed in your life is meant to stay forever. Some are meant to protect you from becoming someone you would deeply regret. The Quran reminds us that Allah is al-Latif, subtle, gentle in how He guides His servants. Sometimes He protects you by removing what you thought you desperately needed. So if you chose Deen, even when it cost you time, ease, or emotional comfort, and you still do not wish you had handled things differently, that is not failure. That is success without public applause. And when a path leaves you closer to Allah than you were before, even if it did not end the way you hoped, that path was never wasted. Every step taken with sincere intention has value in Allah's sight. Final reflection. By now, you have probably noticed something important. None of this teaching was about chasing magical signs. None of it was about labeling people as meant to be or soulmates. It was about direction, about observing what happens to your faith, your dignity, your clarity when you genuinely choose Allah first, even when no one around you is applauding that choice. Because the truth we must embrace is this: what Allah sends does not always arrive with absolute certainty or overwhelming feelings. Sometimes it arrives as restraint, sometimes as patience, sometimes as the strength to walk away without regret or bitterness. And that is completely acceptable. You were never promised ease in every single step of your journey. You were promised guidance if you remained sincerely seeking it. So if you are standing at a crossroads right now, tired, cautious, trying earnestly to do what is right in Allah's sight, know this with certainty: Allah does not waste the choices made purely for His sake. Not the ones people witness and praise, and not the ones no one ever knows about, except you and your Creator. If this message reached you in a moment when you needed to hear it, leave a quiet, "Ya Allah, guide my heart to what pleases you," in the comments, and say Ameen for someone else who is also sincerely trying. Until we meet again in another reflection, choose what keeps you whole, what protects your deen, what brings you closer to your purpose. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.